Welcome, and please be aware that what I am about to say in the following video are my own views. They're not the views of my company or any other people somehow associated, either willingly or not, with these. So, we are moving forward with our theatrical season, coming upon another show which will feature the actors in wireless microphone. So I thought this would be a good time to go through the old mic inventory. And I've been wanting to review the point source head-worn microphones versus maybe the DPA and Countryman mics for quite a while now. So let's go grab some samples. To the closet of value engineering. How is this improved? Oh well. No matter. We shall choose a DPA. Damn it. You piece of shit. This is the obvious best way to store an inventory. Alright. There's one. And from the bank, Countryman. To the workbench. Now, you may have been able to discern from the collection of these fine specimens that none of these microphones are actually factory new. These microphones have all been in at least one production. So please do not at any point assume that these are brand new out of the box. But I mean, I figured this is gonna help, right? I mean, it can't hurt. It's better that you know what to look for, or what you might get yourself into. So, let's start. Where do you want to start? Maybe I will give you a quick. I'm gonna have to go look this up so that I'm not lying to you. I will give you a quick idea of where these fall price-wise. Stand by. All right. So I went back to my quote. And as of February 17th, 2016, so this is a little over a year ago when I got these quoted out, if this were free, I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for these, because that is between you and your dealer, or your vendor, or your guy, or your girl. If these were free, and I guess I should, this is the CO8-WD XHBE. BE is the color code. I don't think the correct color is in this box. Apologies. If this were free, the Countryman would be $58.14. This is the Countryman. Oh, there you go. H60W6 CSL. You can read too. So, 58.14 more. And finally, the DPA would be So, keep that in mind. That is an important thing. I mean, like, this, that makes a difference. That will add up over quantity. Now, does this make more sense? Maybe, you know the old phrase, You can pay $1 once, or you can pay 50 cents 3 times. So, we'll see how that sort of falls into this. Damn it, sorry. DPA 4066. F10 $P9 3839. The $sign is the important thing, because that's how you know you're baller. Alright, so I apologize for not having a complete box here. If this were new, if you were getting this from the factory, there's a cut foam insert that goes in the bottom, and there is a foam lid that keeps everything beautifully intact. There are several, three, I don't remember exactly how many color choices there are from Point Source. So these, as you can see, lay flat. The boom is flexible, you can see, and so it does make for nice shaping. I will say the side effect of that is, of course, your actors will also be able to shape it relatively easy, especially if they grab this to take it on or off, or if they go to the bathroom and wipe their face and then they go back on stage and it's like this. And I mean, you know the usual things that you deal with. These earpieces pull out, and then can swing and lock here or here. And that means you can relatively easily switch between right ear hooker and left ear. I didn't need that. You guys could have visualized that. This boom clips on using S-clips. Looks like we have a mismatched color here. Again, these have been in a show. So these guys will come off, and you can remove the whole boom, should you want to do that. You can also, let me make sure I'm not lying to you, you can also adjust the width of the head by sliding innie and outie of the slidey innie and outie bit. So they fit, as in I need to fit this to an actor. They fit up very quickly. They don't necessarily lock down for long term. You know, like you want this mic to come out and be in the exact same place every time. These don't really do a good lockdown. That's where it's going to be, which leads to some creative A2 locking down techniques that we'll look into in a little bit. But this is the basic what you can expect for the headpiece. The mics do ship with spare clips, but I also, just because if you've dealt with actors or anyone wearing microphones, you might be interested to know this. I had a replacement pack of these clips quoted. I'm gonna go get that price. I'll be right back. Okay, so these S-clips, a replacement 4-pack, a 4-pack of these S-clips, $22. So these things are $5.50 each. So keep that in mind. If you see them on the floor, they're worth picking up. Moving along, we have the bulbous point where the cable connects with the boom. We'll come back to that. The cable, it's a pretty nice cable. No complaints about that. These, one thing that I thought was a little bit interesting was these microphones are not serialized. They do have a manufacturing, date code, because at one point during the repair process, Point Source told me that one of my mics was extremely old, which didn't really matter much. I assumed that it had just sat on my dealer's shelf for longer than the others. But so they know what this number means, but when I received my initial order of, I believe, 22 of them, they all, with the exception of one of them, had the exact same code on it. We have thrown on, that's an internal label that is in leftover piece of tape. I'll get to that too. So these Point Source microphones, I'm actually gonna switch to one that's easier to see here. They have their X connector, and that means that their microphone can easily adapt to whatever brand wireless transmitter you're using. So this is how the microphone comes out of the factory. It's not going to happen. There we go. So this is a non-locking threaded connector, which for us started to be a problem first rehearsal. The actors all got in the mic in the rehearsal hall, which was a unique situation, but nonetheless. And in that first day, just with general movement, these would start to come unplugged, and when they are about here, it makes quite a significant popping noise. And there's obviously nothing you can do about that except to go snug this back up. Except you can't snug it. You can't snug it like you want to snug it. This was obviously during manufacturing. This was enough of an issue that every single microphone ships with this instructional label. Do not over tighten. Make 3 turns and stop. 1, 2, 3. Tighten no more. So really it's like, and then you really want to do a like, I hate the pop type tighten down, but as soon as you do that, poof, gone. And then you have your first problem, obviously. So this is, while I completely understand why they would do this, they can just say like, hey, what kind of mics do you have? Hey, I'll have a Shure. And so you get the X adapters that go from Point Source non-locking threaded connector to Shure. Now, obviously, this adds a bit of bulk on your actor. So then you say, well, what do I do with this? I'm going to plug this into the top of the mic, and then I'm going to tuck this in maybe the mic pouch. You know, if the actor's wearing a mic pouch. So then you got this, and then this is a hard plastic, so that doesn't bend. So then you have this coming back out the top, which, you know, is probably not that bad, but it's still quite a bit to deal with. And you have to be able to get to this because you can't lock it down. So the first thing we did was, if you're familiar with Hellerman sleeves, we put a Hellerman sleeve, ran it through, and Hellerman sleeved this connector. You know, the nice part about that was, if you did need to take this off for some reason, you could take the sleeve, roll it down, and then unscrew. Within another day, it was obvious that the Hellerman sleeve solution was not sufficient. Actor movement, since you can't, there's no lock, and you can't tighten. These threads are just molded into the plastic, and once the mold breaks on either end, that's it. Now, replacing this X connector, the quote I got for backup Shure replacement X connectors, $36.43 each. I should say that the price quote from earlier, the old free to other number comparison, they did come with these Shure adapters. So that price was included in the original quote. Once we realized that the Hallerman wasn't enough, you sort of realize, if you are one theater, you only are ever going to need one connector, right? Any other mic, you say what the connector is, and that's what you have. So we considered just gluing these, but you lose the advantage of, if this goes, you can't just take this off and put a new one on, right? If you start to get popping in the connector, it does give you the advantage of, hey, I can take this off and replace it, which throughout the course of our run, we did end up doing. We lost X adapters, but the microphone was still okay, so we were able to swap that out for the $36.43. Keeping in mind that you need to have one of these ready when that happens. So you buy the spare and you have it in the building. These are not, in my experience, kept in stock in very many places. So also just keep in mind the lead time on that. We ended up going to it's a non-adhesive tape that fuses to itself. I wish I could remember the name of the tape. Is this some? No, here we go. 3M Temflex rubber splicing tape. And so it is not sticky. It has a backing. So you peel the backing off as you wrap it, and it will fuse to itself, but you can then go back through and daintily cut it off. But it still is a secure but non-permanent solution to this adapter challenge, which is a challenge. Now keep in mind, now this goes on your pack. You have to hide this on an actor's back. So you gotta keep that in mind. That's the general overview of the point source as is. One of the things that we ran into a lot of trouble with, and before I tell you exactly what happened, I have to go back and reread and make sure that I'm giving you the correct information. But essentially, by the end of our run, and I will get you this data, but we had lost a pretty good percentage of these point source microphones. Ah, 'tis a sad sight to see, but not one all too unfamiliar to our lot. So, we've got the old box of shame sprawled out in front of us. Now, I just want you to know that lavs, elements, these are an expendable. I do not expect these to be a permanent item in stock. That is for sure. But where are you going to start to have trouble with these point source mics? You might be wondering. And I can tell you. And this is just so you know. It's just so you know what to look out for. I'm not saying that it's good or bad or indifferent. I just want to share the experience that I had. But by far, by a long shot, we had these things under they were all head worn. Nothing that you wouldn't expect from normal actor movement. This was a show. It was not a crazy musical. This was a show with it was actually Shakespeare play with the actors and mic. We had a band, and so there was no heavy dancing. There were no heavy fight sequences, but the actors were in mic. Nothing too crazy, but with what I would describe as normal actor head movement, we started getting failure after failure in this solder joint. Point Source service, customer service, they were the ones that explained that this is the solder joint where the extremely fine cables, I guess conductors in this cable, connect with the extremely fine conductors in the boom. And our problem was, when the actors moved and they would turn their head, it would pop. You just get and that burns the mic. It's still passing audio, but anytime it moves, you get a pop, and that means the mic is dead. You can't send that on stage. So we started getting quite a few of this happening. The A2 was marking where the problem was, and it was all this solder joint. And I if you guys are interested, if there's enough interest, I can do another full video on sort of how the repair process went. I certainly have to hand it to Point Source. They did their best at the get-go to make sure that these were getting... this cannot be fixed. So it's sort of up to Point Source to decide if this is a warranty repair or not. I got a handful, I don't remember, I could go back and look. We got a handful of repair, and then once we started shipping them more, then it was no longer a warranty repair. So I don't know if it's a quantity issue. I don't know if this was one actor, if it kept happening over and over on one actor, that would be one thing. I would acknowledge that there's something going on with the way that this person is handling the mic. But once it turned over the half a dozen different actor having the same problem thing, I don't know what to think. I will let you draw your own conclusions. But they were failing pretty consistently. Not passing audio. We don't have to go through this whole pile. You get the gist of what I'm saying. This is the spot to look out for. Now, I will direct you at your leisure to Point Source's cable guidelines and how to dress cables on an actor. Noise here. This is one of the X connectors that we had go bad. So there was maybe this was over tightened. I don't really know. But this was one of the few instances where the mic itself was completely good, and all we had to do was replace the X connector. So that one will count as a win. Oh, another one of those. So if you have show critical, always have spares. It's worth it. The $36.43 that it cost me to get 1 or 2 or 3 of these in the A2's kit was way worth it. Way worth it. But we can just go through this pile. Broken at the solder joint. The more astute viewers among us may also notice that we had a handful of headband failures. As luck would have it, we were having enough boom failures that we had spare headsets. I think I got a quote on these. These are pretty expensive. So I would say have one spare on hand. But this video is getting longer than I thought it would. Sorry, my memory card ran out of room, which is embarrassing. Yeah, it's hard to count it as a win that we had a bunch of spare headbands because of how many booms we were losing. But I guess you'll take the win where you can get it. Again, I just want to reinforce that these are expendables. It was the big disappointment to me, and this is just me, was how consistent we were having the same problem over and over on a large amount of different actors, and we felt like how are we going to stop this from happening? So we did quite a few emails back and forth about preventing. So Point Source was saying that the main problem was that we were causing too much movement in this area at the back of the head. Now, when this is on the back of an actor, you are going to have, now for us, this was theatrical use. So here's the back of the actor's head, and we had bent this so that it went straight down their neck, and then you'd put a little dab of tape on here, and now you've got the head movement. And we were pretty excited because in the promo videos to these microphones, it shows how durable these booms are. You can wrap them around your finger, and that's part of the advertising of these microphones. So we were initially not concerned with the idea of, all right, well, let's have this running down the actor's neck, but just time and time again, we were losing these solder joints because there was the movement in this spot. So we worked on a couple of solutions because we had to deal with, okay, well, some of these are covered by wigs in certain costumes. Some of these are painted. Some of these, they have to be hidden. We want them to be hidden. This is not going on someone in a suit who's about to go give a speech at a podium. This is going to be on someone moving around and acting on stage. But the costume designer wants these to be as hidden as possible, and I know that if that's the case, then you shouldn't get head booms, but it was all part of the design. It doesn't make this any prettier in the back, so we were trying to hide that as much as possible. And where we could, going off of the idea that we don't want any flexibility on the solder joint, so then we came up with these clips. These clips come with the microphones. They don't pinch very tightly. So you can see also one of the side effects of not being able to lock these S-clips down. We would apply hot glue to lock the boom from going in and out. This I wouldn't say that this is the top representation of the visual quality of what we were doing, but this was a result of being told that there shouldn't be any movement to either side of this solder joint. All right, well, okay, great. This actor had a wig covering up this area, so this was less of a concern. This was part of our how do we stop these from breaking test mics, right? Because we were going through them like crazy. And this was one of the things that we came up with. I sent this photo to Point Source and said, how do you feel about this? We aren't too worried about this because of, in your promotion material, on your website, you show the booms being extremely flexible and rugged. We weren't very concerned about this. They were a little concerned. That this was pinching too tightly, but it really isn't. It's just holding this rig in place. And this was the only way that we could come up with to dress this up and allow the cable to run down the actor's neck. So, this is the type of stuff that you always deal with when you are putting mics on actors. How do you make it pretty? And yes, like I said, I know we should have used lavs. That's not the point of this. We're learning together. There were a handful of other mics. Was it the one I was just... No. Sorry. Ill-prepared, ill-timed. Alright, so, look at this. It is an X adapterless point source boom. Now this was the result of losing... We had bad signal just above the X adapter. And here's where the popping was. Right here. So we mailed it back to Point Source. They cut off the X adapter and they hardwired the TA4F connector directly onto the boom. It works exactly the same. It just no longer has the X adapter. So that's an option. If you get your popping way down the cable, you can send it back, and they will put this. You might be able to do it yourself. We had so many other things going on that, I don't know. I could open this up. I'll do it in another video. We'll see what the wiring is. Story of our lives. And please know that I know that lavs are expendables. And your A2 can practice braiding. Seriously though, you should show this to your production manager or your producer and just say like, this is what this is like. These things are not built to be put through the rigors of jubilant musical theater. I mean, they literally are, but the rigors are many. Alright, so these guys, the 4066s, are great. I would always say that if you can afford it, do it. I have no qualms in saying that. If this is within the scope of what you can do, you're never going to be mad about it. These are expensive, but they're great. My own personal opinion. These guys, I have been blown away by the longevity of these microphones. The 4066 booms that my company owns were purchased for a summer musical in 2013. 2013! It is now March of 2017. Keep that in mind. I believe we bought 8 of them, and all 8 are still working. They did a summer musical, which was a theater for young audiences show. The actors were sweating like it was their job, and we haven't lost any of them in occasional since then use. since that entire the run finished. We put them in the mic cabinet, and these things have been just really great to us. So yes. But these have been well worth the investment over time. Just saying. Just saying. They're packaged nicely. The case is clear so that you can see if there is a mic in the box, which is always nice when you're looking through the shelf. They're wired to the connector that you need. They are well strain relieved. They come with, this is God knows what the original set of accessories were. I mean, come on. That was many, many moons ago when these were new. But these are great. They're much more rigid. You don't get that flexibility that you do with the point source. The wires clip in, like so. Oh, looks like one of our clips is broken. But she still sounds good. Yeah, we've lost an S-clip. But these things have really been put through the ringer. And they are still chugging. They are still exceptional, if I'm honest. So, we will do, my plan is to also do an audio test for these 3 different all used microphones, which is partially useful, maybe. I hope, maybe. We'll see. DPA addendum. These are switchable. You can change which ear the mic goes to by snapping it out of the clips and reversing the boom, snapping it back in. That's probably how over the years we have broken this S-clip. It's doable, but it's more of a pain in the dingus. The Countryman. I should say that for what it's worth, and I really, I'm not making this video to badmouth any product, any company, these mics have a hard life. I can't say that enough. But we ended up with these Countryman mics in our stock because the rate of consistent failure we were getting from the point source microphones made it, for the rest of that production, made it financially irresponsible for us to continue investing in them. And I feel bad saying that, but it was the truth. We bought several replacements to keep the run going, and we hit a breaking point, and just said, you know what, these Countrymen are it's not this. You gotta add this onto the free. But we could not, whether it was the batch that was being delivered to us, whether it was something that we were doing. I certainly, we had a professional A2 on this show. This was not the first show that they have been the A2 for. We've never had a problem. We've never had a problem with lav failure like we did that show. And by the end of the run, we ended up with the Countryman stock replacing the mics that were failing out on a pretty consistent basis. So live and learn. These Countryman mics are, I should read the instructions. We bought these and then I just gave them to my A2 and said thank you for putting up with all this stuff that we've been making you put up with. Oh yeah, all right. So the same slidey innie outie earpiece adjusters. This one was simply extended all the way. And the DPA style, I don't want this on my left mouth side. I want this on my right mouth side. A clippy-doo, unclippy-doo, reclippy-doo. Now this, as you can see, has a bigger dangly-doo here in the back of your archer's head. However, hold on, stand by. Obviously this just pulls apart, but you can see, can you see? You can't see, but you can't see, come on, that there's some shmoo protecting this connector, which I would say and this is not threaded or anything. This snaps in and out of here. Now, the nice thing about this is that anywhere there's a break in the cable, you don't lose your mic. You get a new cable. Right? I mean, that's nice. You don't have to throw this away. Which I would put in the better. I put that in the better pile. That worked out better for us. So these have different response caps. Crisp. Black. Oh god. Through a camera. This one. Very crisp. Ah. It's like shopping for apples. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this entertaining because this is a long video. So these are pretty... Oh, golly, I forgot to tell you something. We also had one of our point source microphones fail right at the element. They said that the element got crushed, and also never ever are you to handle the tip. Don't keep your hands off the tip. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. But yeah, we lost one of these because I'm assuming, I don't know, you can kind of see, I'm sure there's some sort of really awful soldering that I would never want to be a part of going on out there. But this is, come to find out, an extremely touchy, sensitive location. But not as touchy as that. So, element size. We have point source on the left, Countryman in the middle, and DPA on the right. I would put a coin on my hand for size reference, but I work in theater. I'm trying to show you guys the things that are harder to discern from the marketing. Obviously you know which caps these come with, and just in case you don't know, these caps on the Countryman here would pop off and change the frequency response as shown on the frequency response graphs, but you can find that pretty easily yourself. Some of the little details in here is you can kind of see there's at the bottom of the earpiece, in order to keep the boom in, there's a slightly more bulbous bulb on either side. This one would obviously be so that you can switch it and use the other ear. These mics have different sensitivities, which I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that's what the blue stripe represents. So results may vary depending on what you order. I feel relatively, these, oh golly, yeah. So these, how would they store? I feel like an idiot right now, I don't know. If they're anything like the DPA, when you put them in the case, they just fold like that and are okay with that. But don't trust me on that. Never trust me. After what I can assure you was much bumblefuckery, I have kind of hit a little bummer spot here. I tried to take the 3 microphones, and I thought that a fair comparison test would mean that they were not wireless. Just to take that variable out of this equation. And I had 3 Shure Beta head amps, which, hold on, sorry about that. So I have the Shure RPM 626 Beta preamplifiers. I have 3 of them, and they have the exact same, sorry that I'm filming the screen, sorry, but they have the exact same wiring for TA4M, TA4F. All wireless body pack transmitters have the same wiring as the RPM 626 Beta preamplifier. So I thought, time warp. So I thought that I could plug the 3 of these into the Shure preamps, which mimic the wireless transmitters, into the back of an audio interface and record it into Pro Tools. This actually, this works fine for the point source and the DPA, but the Countryman is really not. I have to turn the gain up so high on the Countryman that it's not really going to be much of a worthwhile test to compare the 3 of them. I'm probably doing or not doing something stupid. So I can either film this again at a later point and use wireless transmitters. I took the Countryman upstairs to the booth. I put it on a wireless transmitter and it seems fine. I got one of our other Countrymans. I got one of the other Countrymans that we had in the closet of value engineering and plugged it into the same transmitter, and they sounded pretty much exactly the same. So I'm not sure why they're so unhappy with these Shure preamps. If anyone has any ideas, put it in the comment below here. So we can revisit this if there is enough interest. I would obviously not put the audio up on YouTube. I would probably figure out a way to share the non-compressed files with you guys, if that is something that you're interested in. It might have to be wireless. Also keeping in mind that I am not a singer, so you will have to deal with that. Okay, I couldn't do a direct audio comparison, but I realized that I could show you guys, and I'm not doing a direct audio recording, you all know what a pop sounds like, but I could show you what happens when these solder joints break. So here is the cable. It goes directly, there's no camera trickery. The cable goes directly from the mic into the smaller Focusrite, which has direct. Now you can see, oh my god, you can see that audio is still working. So you get the idea of why you wouldn't want that to happen while an actor was on stage. You can see the, oh my god. Anyway, this is what they all started doing. And you can see that it doesn't require, once it starts, it doesn't require a lot of movement at all to doobly do what they doobly do, which is pop. Pop it, pop it, pop. That's what we were dealing with, and that would happen on stage in the middle of a scene. And the only thing you can do is, oh my god, oh my god. I'm so sorry, preamp. I'm so sorry, little Focusrite Scarlett. But let me know if there is anything more you would like me to do with these three microphones. I hope that this video was, up until now, helpful and informative, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.